Right, you've heard this one before, haven't you? Ever lied? Ever stolen something? Ever looked at someone with lust in your eyes? Of course you have. We all have. Sounds like your man Ray Comfort, doesn't it? The classic Christian gotcha moment where they corner you in the street and suddenly you're a lying, thieving, adulterous wreck in need of salvation. But I'm not here to guilt trip you. That's not what this is about. I'm here telling you why thinking you're basically a good person might be the most dangerous lie you've ever believed, and what it could be hiding in plain sight. Because the thing is, the people who've done the worst things in history, they thought they were the good guys too.
Are we the baddies?
We love calling people like Hitler monsters, don't we? It makes us feel better, like they're some different breed of human, born with horns, wired wrong from the start. Evil is out there somewhere, not something that could ever live in here. It's a comforting thought, but it's also a dangerous lie. See, I grew up thinking the same thing. Bad people were just bad, different. Not like me and my family back here. We're decent folk. We went to mass, helped out our neighbours. Sure, we weren't perfect, but we aren't monsters. Then I started reading history, really reading it. And you know what I found? Hitler wasn't born with horns. Jeffrey Dahmer didn't have serial killer written on his birth cert. The guards at Auschwitz, most of them were just ordinary blokes who loved their families and probably helped old ladies across the road. They were made from the same stuff as you and me. And that should terrify us, because if we keep pretending that they're different species, we'll never see it rising in ourselves. And that's how evil survives. That's how it repeats. I know it's hard to hear. It was hard for me too, because it means the line between good and evil doesn't run between us and them. It runs right down the middle of every human heart. There's this experiment that I came across that changed how I think about everything. It's called Rat Park. My friends are bored to death of hearing me talk about this experiment. These scientists, right, they took rats and put them in cages. They gave them 2 bottles, one with normal drinking water and one laced with morphine. And what happened? Well, the rats, they drank the drugged water until they died. See, everyone said addiction is about the drug. Some rats, they're born addicts. But then this Canadian psychologist, Bruce Alexander, he thought, hang on, what if it's not about the drug at all? So he built Rat Park, a massive space, toys everywhere, other rats to play with, tunnels to explore, good diet, good lighting schedule, everything a rat could want. He put the same rats in there with the same 2 bottles. And guess what? They barely went near the morphine. They were too busy living. It wasn't the drug that was the problem. It was the cage. Now ask yourself, what kind of cage breeds a killer? What kind of environment turns ordinary people into monsters? Fear does it. Isolation. Propaganda telling you that these people aren't really good people at all, or even real people. Unchecked power. The slow, steady drip of dehumanizing others until you stop seeing them as your neighbor and start seeing them as a problem to be solved. Sound familiar? Look at Rwanda in '94. Neighbors turned on neighbors. People they'd shared meals with, worked alongside, suddenly became enemies worth slaughtering. Not because they were born evil, but because the environment had shifted. The cage had changed. Or closer to home, look at the North. During the Troubles, ordinary people, decent people, who got swept up in something bigger than themselves, something that they thought they believed in, the cage of fear, of us versus them thinking, of believing the violence was the only language the other side understood. I'm not excusing it, I'm trying to understand it. Because if we don't understand how ordinary people become capable of extraordinary evil, then we're doomed to repeat it. Now, this isn't some kind of new revelation I've stumbled onto. The Bible's been saying this for thousands of years. All have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. There is no one righteous, no, not even one. The heart is deceitful above all things and beyond cure. Jesus himself said that if you're angry at someone, well, you've committed murder in your heart. If you look at someone with lust, you've committed adultery. That sounds harsh until you realize what he's actually doing. He's not creating impossible standards to make us feel guilty. He's revealing something that we already knew but didn't want to face. The capacity for great evil lives in all of us. Think about Peter and Judas. Both of them walked with Jesus. Both of them saw miracles, heard the teachings, experienced the love of God firsthand. Same raw material, same opportunities. Peter denied Jesus 3 times when the pressure was on, but Judas betrayed him for 30 pieces of silver. Same seeds, different soil, different endings. I used to think I was more like Peter, right? You know, basically flawed, but basically loyal. Heart in the right place. But the older that I get, the more honest I become with myself, the more I realize I've got both seeds growing in me. The capacity for both denial and betrayal, depending on the circumstances. And maybe that terrifies you. It should, but it should also free you, because once you stop pretending that you're fundamentally different from history's monsters, you can start doing something about the monster that lives in you. The real danger comes when we convince ourselves that evil is something only they do. That's when we stop watching our own hearts. That's when we become vulnerable to the very thing that we think we're immune to. You want proof? Look at the Stanford prison experiment, 1971. They took ordinary college students, good kids from good families, and randomly assigned them, some to be the guards and others to be the prisoners, in a mock prison. Within days, the guards were abusing the prisoners, not because they were sadists, but because the system that they had set up told them that it was okay, because they'd stopped seeing the prisoners already as people like themselves. Or Milgram's obedience experiments. Regular folks were when told by an authority figure, were willing to administer what they thought was a deadly electric shock to strangers. Not because they were monsters, but because they were given permission to stop thinking for themselves. That's how evil spreads. Not through the obviously wicked, but through the obviously normal, who've convinced themselves that they are doing good. I think about this when we see how we talk about people online. How easy it is to dehumanize someone when they're just a profile picture and a bad opinion. How quick we are to assume the worst about them while giving ourselves every benefit of the doubt. We're not as different from those guards as we'd like to think. But here's the thing, and this is where the Gospels gets beautiful. Christianity doesn't leave us stuck in that dark place. See, Jesus didn't come just to forgive the monster in us. He came to kill it. To give us what Ezekiel calls a new heart and a new spirit. This isn't about behavior modification or trying harder to be good. This is about a fundamental transformation at the level of identity. The gospel doesn't say, you're fine as you are. It says, I see everything. I see the Peter in you, and the Judas in you, and the guard in you, and the prisoner, and the saint, and the monster. And I still want you. But wanting you doesn't mean leaving you as you are. When Jesus told Peter, before the rooster crows, you'll deny me 3 times, he wasn't condemning him, he was preparing him. Because after the resurrection, after Peter had faced the worst in himself and found forgiveness, Jesus asked him 3 times again, do you love me? 3 denials, 3 affirmations, 3 chances to choose a different story. That's what grace does. It doesn't pretend the monster isn't there. It faces it head on and says, this doesn't have to be the end of our story. I'll be honest with you, this changed everything for me. Growing up, I thought Christianity was about being good enough for God, about proving I wasn't like those other people. But it's actually about admitting I'm exactly like those people and discovering that God loves me anyway. Not because I'm good, but because He is good. Not because I'm safe, but because He's dangerous enough to take on the worst in me and win. So here's what I want to leave you with. Maybe the most dangerous thing you can believe about yourself is that you are a good person. And maybe the most beautiful thing you can believe is that you don't have to stay the same. The monsters in history didn't look like monsters until it was too late. They looked like neighbours, like co-workers, like people who went to church and helped in their communities and told themselves that they were fighting for what was right. If you don't think you're capable, then you're halfway there already. But if you can look in the mirror and see both Peter and Judas looking back at you, if you can face the cage you're in and the rat you might become, then there's hope. Because it's not the drugs, it's the cage. And God came to set you free from both. If this hit you the way it hit me, if it made you uncomfortable or angry or hopeful, or maybe all three at once, do me a favor, hit that like button. It helps more people find content like this. And subscribe if you haven't already. We're trying to build something here, a community of people who aren't afraid to ask hard questions about faith, about ourselves, about God, and what it really means to follow Jesus in a complicated way. And if you want to support this kind of honest Christian content, the kind that doesn't shy away from the difficult stuff, check out my Patreon. Every bit helps me keep going, and it means I can keep making videos without having to water down the message to please the algorithm. Share this with someone who needs it, someone who's maybe too comfortable thinking that they are the good one, or someone who's convinced that they're too far gone maybe to be loved. Neither is true. You can be loved. You are loved. My name's Jacob, and this might be church.